In today's lecture at Medical Sciences, I want to discuss about functions of the thyroid hormones. Previously, we discussed on synthesis of T3 and T4, those are thyroid hormones, and we saw that the thyroid gland predominantly produces T4, whereby we said that if the thyroid hormones is T3 and T4, we said 80% is T4, whereas less than 20% is T3. This is less than, then greater than 80% is T4. And we saw that T4 is the best marker for thyroid functioning because for it is exclusively produced by the thyroid gland. And we're going to see T3 is not a good marker because only 20% is produced by the thyroid gland, whereas the remaining 80 is formed in the peripheral tissue, that is majorly the liver and the kidney, after the action of 5' dehydrogenase. And we went ahead and said that the active form of thyroid hormone, or the most potent, is T3. So T3 is the active form, or it is the most potent form, because we are going to find that the thyroid hormone receptors, they are more potent, or they respond to T3 than T4. So you find that T3 has higher affinity. It has higher affinity to bind to the receptors compared to T4, hence being the most active form or the most potent form of thyroid hormones. So whenever we produce greater than 80% of T4, when it goes in the peripheral tissue, that is the liver and the kidney, it is converted. It is first converted to T3, whereby T4 is converted to T3 by an enzyme known as 5' iodinase. And some books call it deiodinase, 5' deiodinase. So this 5' iodinase is the one that converts T4 in the peripheral tissues to T3, and it converts it to T3 and some reverse T3. It forms two products. There is a reverse T3, which is inactive, then the T3, which is active. And this active form, which is T3, the active one, in the tissue, produced in the tissue, it is being smaller in size. It crosses the phospholipid bilayer membrane, and it has the receptors inside the cell. So we're going to see the T3, which is formed from T4, it enters into inside the cell, and also it continues into the nucleus because it is small in size. It is small in size, that's why it crosses. It is not lipid soluble, but the reason it is very small in size, so it can cross the phospholipid bilayer, and its receptors are found within the cell. That's why we find. So when we have our T3, which is the most potent form and has higher affinity for receptor, if this is the receptor, this is the thyroid hormone receptors within the nucleus. So the T3, which is formed, comes and binds to the receptor within the nucleus. And after binding on the receptor, it forms what we call hormone receptor complex. This is the hormone, which is T3. It's T3. So when it binds on the thyroid receptors within the nucleus, it forms what we call hormone receptor complex. And this hormone receptor complex, which is T3 receptor complex, is going to command, this is the DNA of the cell. So it is going to command transcription. First, this DNA is going to replicate. It is going to unwind to form two strands. Then it will undergo transcription to form messenger RNA. This process is known as transcription. It undergoes transcription to form messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA which is formed, this is the messenger RNA which is formed from DNA. It is small in size, so it can cross. You're going to see it. It can pass through the nuclear pore and go to the ribosome. And after reaching in the cytoplasm, this mRNA which was formed, it goes to where there are ribosomes in the cytoplasm. We find there ribosomes which act as a machinery for synthesis of proteins by the process known as translation. So this mRNA moves through the nuclear pore and finds the ribosome within the cytoplasm, and this messenger RNA, in presence of large and smaller ribosomal subunits, it is translated to form new proteins. So this mRNA comes with codons, and then the larger subunits, the transfer RNA brings the anticodon, then they are used for synthesis of new proteins within the cell. And these new proteins which are formed within the cell by the process of transcription and translation. So this process here where we are forming new protein is known as, this process is known as translation. This is known as translation, whereby the codons on messenger RNA are translated to form new proteins, and it is these new proteins that are going to exert the effect of thyroid hormone, which we are calling T3, which is the active form and more potent. So after forming these new proteins, they are the ones that are going to command different functions of thyroid hormone, and these functions include, we're going to see different functions of thyroid hormone, and functions include, one is central nervous system maturation. It is responsible for CNS maturation, central nervous system maturation, and these thyroid hormones also, they are responsible for growth of tissues, especially bones. So among the hormones which enhance growth is also T3 and T4. So that's why we are going to see in the disorders that deficiency of T3 and T4 can lead to stunted growth, which we call cretinism. And another function of T3 and T4, we're going to see it is responsible for increasing basal metabolic rate. And how does it increase basal metabolic rate? Is by increasing oxygen consumption. There is increased oxygen consumption. There is increased respiratory rate or breathing rate. Increased respiratory rate. There is increased sodium, stroke, potassium ATPase synthesis. It increases mitochondria, increases formation of mitochondria in cells, which can provide energy in form of ATP, and hence increasing basal metabolic rate. And the effect of these hormones, T3 and T4, after triggering synthesis of new proteins, these new proteins can have effect on the cardiovascular system, whereby they can increase heart rate. There is increase in heart rate, and this increased heart rate can lead to increase in cardiac output, and all these ones can result into hypertension. in case it is produced in higher quantities. That is the effect of T3 and T4. Then other effects, it can have effect on sex organs, whereby it is also responsible for maturation of gonads. Sexual maturation, T3 and T4 also plays a big role. Then another function we are going to see of this is they do a lot on body metabolism. They increase body metabolism. How? One, by increasing lipolysis. They also stimulate glycogenolysis. And they go ahead to also increase gluconeogenesis. They trigger or stimulate gluconeogenesis, and they also trigger they increase glucose uptake, or utilization. So these are the functions of T3 and T4. But we have said the potent form or the active form of these hormones is T3. So if we have T4 in the tissue, it has to first be converted to T3, which is the active form. And the physiological active forms of these T3 and T4, they are the bound ones, the ones which are bound to thyroxine binding globulin, prealbumin, and albumin, do not exert effect. So the ones that exert effect are the free hormones. They are the ones that are physiologically active, which are able to form T3. Then the T3 which is already active, the 20% which is produced from thyroid, for it comes directly and binds to its receptor. Then the T4 is first converted to T3. So in other words, we are saying if the thyroid hormone produces 80% T4, this 80% of T4 is first converted to T3 in the peripheral tissue, majorly the liver and the kidney. Then the 20% which is already T3, for it comes directly and binds to its receptor in the nucleus. And in the beginning I told you that they cross because they are small in size. So they are able to cross a phospholipid bilayer membrane, and after forming hormone receptor complex, they cause transcription, that is the formation of messenger RNA, which moves through the nuclear pore to the ribosome in the cytoplasm, which undergo translation to form new proteins. And these new proteins increase central nervous system maturation, they increase growth of the body tissues, increase basal metabolic rate, they have action on the cardiovascular system by increasing heart rate and cardiac output. Then they also enhance sexual maturation and increase body metabolism. So this is what we can discuss in this session. Thank you so much for watching from beginning until the end. And we normally urge you, if you haven't subscribed, if it is your first time, please make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share to others. May God bless you.